Hello, everyone. My name is Ekta Khurana. I'm a current second-year full-time MBA student at Weatherhead School of Management, Case Western Reserve University. I'm serving as the president of the Graduate Business Student Association at Weatherhead. And today, I feel privileged to invite you to the start of a new series to celebrate the month of March, proudly and widely called as the Women History Month, where we will feature accomplished female leaders from various industries who are also our alumni. Without a further ado, please allow me to introduce our first guest of honor, Jennifer Altstadt. Jennifer's engineering background, coupled with EMBA, provides a solid foundation for executing in a complex environment by focusing on the big picture, processes, and people. Jennifer is passionate about growing businesses and people and is currently the president and CEO of Sealant Chemical Company, a specialty chemical distributor. And today, it is my absolute privilege to invite her to share her thoughts on the series. Thank you, Jennifer, for making time for us.
Thank you, Ekta. Appreciate the warm introduction, and also congratulations on your leadership role at Weatherhead School of Management as well.
Thank you. So here we go with question number one. How do you define leadership, Jennifer?
Interesting question. I think you can do a lot of research, and leadership is defined so many ways. What I've seen, it really has to start with trust at so many levels. The organization has to trust that I'm going to lead us in the right direction. So trust in that I can articulate the vision, that I'm going to do the best for everybody here. And then I think once we have that trust, it's then about engagement and motivation to, how do we make sure that we're taking care of each other and we're taking care of the business.
Awesome. I think those were such great words. So your calendar must be really hectic. We're inquisitive to know, how does your usual business day look like?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I guess, that's one area I do enjoy. It's interesting in so many areas that I get involved in. As you mentioned, my background being engineering, I really enjoy and understand how do we become more efficient in our processes, and how do we really make sure that we're serving our customers and our suppliers. I really enjoy the strategic part, the commercial, what is the future of the company. So I think, every day is trying to make sure I stay at the right level, that I'm leading the organization. And as things happen in the world around us or in the workplace, really balancing what needs my attention, what needs the organization's attention, or what do we just need to say, okay, that happened, but we're going to stay focused.
Awesome. Like you mentioned about so many different roles that you have, that you juggle around in a day. And so I want to know, which one of these would you say to be your interesting most? And then which is going to be the challenging most, where you think, oh, I'd like to have somebody else fill that for me, if that's possible.
Okay, wonderful. I think the most challenging is the most interesting. I've always enjoyed being challenged in many ways. So I really do think it's the evolution of the company. Every day, especially every year, as we evaluate our performance and what do we really need to focus on next. So just making sure that we continue to do what's best for the industry, what's best for the employees. So that's the challenge of really making sure we stay strategic and that our priorities and our actions support that strategy. As far as somebody else, I do feel I'm thrilled with the team, with the leadership team that I have surrounding me. But you have to be thoughtful about, as a leader, what do I need? So I think, I have to do that. So it's not that I don't want to, but what do I really need? So the team that surrounds me is tremendous, and they're better at what they do than I can be, in making sure that we work together.
I can agree with that. I think a little bit that I can relate to this is the fact that your vision, you set the epitome of where you want to lead and how you see the organization developing. So if we have a strong leader who has a strong vision, that can take the whole team together, and it just gets a little more easier to execute if you have clarity in your thoughts. So I completely do agree with what you just said.
Right.
The next question is about the fact that we've learned that men and women differ in terms of their empathy towards the organization and employees, and also in terms of their leadership style. So the question is, where would you say the strength of a female business leader lies vis-a-vis men? Where you think female have a stronger edge, but maybe men don't?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really interesting question that I have been really putting thought and discussion to recently. And when I say recently, in the past several years, COVID has given us a lot of tragic with COVID, but what it has allowed is providing some time to be thoughtful. And I think I see the world really trying to embrace diversity, a lot of effort going on there. So I think it's women can be strong leaders, men can be strong leaders. I think it really depends on the individual. Women can be empathetic, men can be empathetic. So, where are the tendencies? But I think we really need to make sure that we're focusing on, even if it's not a core strength of anybody, men or female, to be empathetic, you have to be.
Yeah.
So I think it's, is there a difference between women and women? Of course. But I think there's a lot that goes into the diversity and a lot that we really have to focus on. I guess as I, look around the world and with, some sad examples today, is just making sure that the power isn't something that is abused. And I think that's where, when power becomes abused, that's where leadership fails. And sadly, we have examples of that, with men today, but I know it happens with men and women. It's just making sure we stay focused and making sure that we're serving others.
Absolutely. And which one, or not just one, but maybe some of the areas where you think that we have female leaders taking the plunge in those areas, but we still need them to come out more often and fill the gaps and be more right there?
Definitely. I mean, I think I'm very fortunate that one of my strengths is my confidence. And, that has been instilled in me in a very early age. And I've been, wonderful upbringing, parents, husband, children. And I just think women have to be confident and have the opportunity to know what they can be or what's available or what opportunities are there. So again, just making sure there's access to understanding, access to the base education, and then making sure that we encourage all, including women, to speak up.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, the next question is very interesting. So I want to know, how would you define yourself in one word?
If I may, can I share a story from several years ago?
Please.
So with my leadership team at a different organization when I was president of Weatherhead, and with the leadership team, I had asked my group to do the same thing, to, define yourself in one word, and then, the idea that we were going to celebrate. So I thought, well, I knew that was what I was planning on. So at the time, I believe I had a third grader and a fifth grader at home, 2 boys.
Okay.
And I asked them, I'm like, how would you define your mother in one word? And my youngest said feisty.
Wow.
Which, I was like, huh. And then my older son went, you don't say feisty, you say loving. This is your mother. But I think there is some truth to that, that was observed, by children. It's interesting to see the world through children's eyes, that feisty, tenacious. If I see something that I want to do or I think we should do, I'm going to fight for what's right.
Yeah, and I also did like the logic that you said that you asked your children to define you, because they're really, really quick with what they feel and they don't mince words, which is the best part.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
So that takes me to the next question. As the president and CEO of Steel and Chemical Company, what is your core focus area?
we've mentioned the word, the vision, the strategy, it has to be. You know, when I'm thoughtful about what do I need to do and what do others need to do, I'm constantly asking myself and asking others, are we the person, should I be doing this or should somebody else be doing this or nobody at all? I have to make sure that we come together and we discuss where we're going. That's hard because it's one of those areas that's important, but not necessarily the urgent matter of the day. It's urgent in the long term. So definitely focuses the long-term vision. I'm fortunate to work for an ESOP organization. Sealand Chemical, we're an ESOP employee owned. So it really brings that conversation front and center that our employees all have a retirement benefit directly tied to our value. So we're very engaged in where are we heading for the long term and how do we make sure that our everyday actions support that.
Great. As the CEO, as the president, you get very time pressed on priorities, but keeping your contact with employees is essential. So the question is, the corner office can get you really occupied and tied to your work. How do you manage to stay connected with your employees?
Yeah, very purposefully, as you said, it's essential. First of all, I'm not in a corner office. As I look at my office window, I'm in the middle of the building on purpose. So I wanted to be in the action where people are walking by to our lunchroom. And it has to be purposeful. So on a rhythm to meetings, making sure that we have our town halls, that we're sharing where we are and people feel that what they're doing connects to the long-term vision. It's also in casual conversations. So when employees first start, I meet with employees immediately. Within the first few weeks by immediate, and just understand who they are, what's important. And I'm thinking of one recently hired a gentleman a few months ago, and we started to discuss art. So,
that is interesting.
A few months later, he's talking about an app, the art of the day, so we now have a app that he shared with me that's quite interesting. So I think it's really about, we're all people, understanding where people are. I really enjoy getting to know individuals and trying to understand what motivates them and what they're interested in and making sure we talk about that as well, and they see me as a person as well.
Yeah. So how would you define what is your long-term vision for the company?
Very good. The long-term vision is, as you started out in the introduction, I really am passionate about growing individuals. I enjoy, taking the moment to reflect and just look at how far, not only is the company going, but how far have we really grown as individuals? What are we learning? How are we making an impact to the people that we work with and that we work for, our customers and our suppliers? So I think as long as we continue to make an impact for the industry, but the individuals, that's the long-term vision. It's not measured just in the numbers and the value, but also in how we do that and embracing our values.
Yeah, you're right. The next question is, Jennifer, leadership can sometimes get very daunting and exhausting. How do you manage to strike up a balance between personal and professional life?
It is a great question. I'd say first of all, I'm very fortunate to have an amazing partner. My husband, very supportive. So I think just, having that home support is tremendous. I mentioned my two younger children, just realizing we needed help and support and asking and getting help and support in place where we needed it, but now I say children, I have two young men that are in their 20s and out of the house, and it's how do you continue to make sure the balance, you have to have self-care. Any conversation I have usually involves the word Peloton. So
I'm just going to say that self-care definitely is one of the area where females tend to ignore because they're just running around, managing, but what is essential is that, and I just want to say that it's essential that you look after your own self first, because if you are guarded and being looked after, it has a ripple effect on everybody around you.
Exactly. I'd say specifically the one area I'm doing a better job in is prioritizing sleep. It used to be, oh, I can survive with little sleep, and I really can't, so just making sure that self-care and the balance. And it is hard when you talk about balance because there's times where I just want to be somewhere more. So as I had to make choices of where I was, I always looked at if this was something that was going to occur once, I made sure that I was there. So, but just, making sure, and that's why you have great people that you work with and you talk through, what can we do? What can I delegate? But, the balance is a everyday discussion with myself.
Yeah, completely. Okay, so this happens to be the Women's History Month, which we've been talking about. So it is highly important
Mhm.
to raise this issue and ask this question: why do we see a really small percentage of females at the top? Although I do agree, and I'm pretty sure that you're going to say, no, Ekta, the numbers are climbing up. But why is it that it's a small percentage?
Right. Right. Statistically, it is. And I think there's a difference, we're making a difference. For myself, when I reflect, there's times where I had to have the confidence to make a change, and to know that there was maybe a dead end here for some reason, and what position did I need to put myself in. I think also I was fortunate to have an engineering background, and I know, there's been a lot of conversation of how do we really make sure we support STEM, that if anybody is interested in math or science, how do we really encourage that as a background? So I think it's, it starts early. I'm also very fortunate that by the time I got to college, I was in work groups with men and women. So I think, I had peer groups that, we were collaborators and peers, regardless if we were male, female, or any other diversity. So I just think, and then as leaders, we have to make sure that we're understanding where individuals want to be and give people opportunities, and not limit based on male, female, or race. So it's just really making sure that we're supporting, understanding, and providing the development and the support to others.
Absolutely. Now, tell me if there would have been one piece of advice that you wanted to give to your younger self at this point in time where you have so much experience and you've seen the world and everything, what would that be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this was advice that I did give my children as they were going off to college. And it's careful advice. I did focus too much on the grade point when I was younger. It was, and maybe it's because I was thinking I had to prove myself. I had to get the A's, and it really, with knowing we're talking with the background and the similarity of being from the Weatherhead School. It was really when I worked on the MBA program where I saw such the importance of relationships. And I was fortunate to go through the EMBA program where I had a study group. I had a cohort that I'm still today dependent upon many for advice and friendship.
Yeah.
So to the younger self, it would be less focus on the grade point, more focus on have the conversation, the learning through others, just not through the books and the test.
Great. Okay, tell me something. Which is that one particular area or a domain where you see that you feel that females aren't so much there, maybe they need to pick up the numbers. It could be tech or it could be anything.
Yeah, I really have pardon me, sorry about that. I'm starting to understand more the privilege that I have had, and through the learnings and the studies and the conversations having surrounding DEI is really understanding the privilege that I've had. And I think that privilege is, again, having access to education, having the encouragement to be what I can be. I think we need to make sure that we're providing that opportunity to everybody so that individuals can understand, who they are and they can go into a role. So I guess, I don't want to say where I think women or men should be, but I think we should have the ability to be where we want to be.
10%.
Mhm.
So I want to know, what is the one thing that you learned during your time at Weatherhead and you use it even today?
Yeah, thank you. So admittedly, I was in my career and I was an engineer and I was being promoted to lead projects, and I decided to jump into an MBA program because I really wanted to understand the finances. So embarrassingly, the fact that the financial statements are all very connected is something that I discovered and learned, which is really fairly basic, but goodness, you really need to understand.
Yeah.
But I'd say, probably more important, I could have gotten that other ways, was really the relationships, maintaining the relationships with professors that I can reach out to. Some of my best friends are from the MBA program. So I learned the value of the relationships, the value of the conversation, and to do that, really being willing to share myself more.
Mhm.
And I like the phrase dance like nobody is watching, so
Yeah.
share yourself more, to develop the relationships deeper. So definitely was brought out in me more during the MBA program, and continue to embrace those life lessons.
Awesome. Now you juggle so many roles. This was probably our question number 2, where you detailed how your usual day looks like. If
Mhm.
given an opportunity of changing one of the feature in the multiple category of roles that you juggle, which would that be, and how would you want to change that feature?
Yeah, I think um, the two areas that I think of with that is one, with the organization, we have an oversight with the board, and there's board committees that look at my performance, and then we discuss objectives based on the performance of the company as well. So on a very formal basis, we do discuss where do I need to change my objectives each year based on the accomplishments, the momentum that we've built with the business. So I'm fortunate that if I see there needs to be a change, I'm able to make that change. If as I look at my time here at Sealand, the role has changed dramatically. I've brought in other individuals, we've promoted other individuals so that I continue to see where, when we need a strong skill set, we can bring that in. So I guess I'm fortunate that if I see there needs to be a change, I'm in the position that, I make it, but we have to for the betterment of the organization.
Great. So we've come towards the end of the segment. So I have to ask, what is the one piece of advice you would want to give to all the young aspirants who are aiming to get to the corner office someday?
Yeah. It definitely is confidence and speak up. I really enjoy when I have individuals say, this is what I really would like to do. But I think that also has to be balanced with patience, and I think, the patience of, every year I say, wow, I've learned, if I knew this last year, and that happens every year. So there's the learning that goes along, the experience of having different roles, that maybe a role isn't something that you want to do forever, but the learning is tremendous. So it's a balance, the discernment of when to speak up, when to be patient, but definitely surround yourself with strong individuals, have those conversations. I'm fortunate, I mentor a young lady that started through college now. She's long since graduated, and we actually had dinner this week. I give her, and she reached out to me this time. It's, that's been I hope I'm making a difference for her, but even, I think, that reverse mentorship is great as well, that I get to hear what she's thinking and what she's striving for. So it's definitely the focus on the relationship, surround yourself with strong people.
Absolutely. So I've taken all the notes. And thank you so much for giving us your valuable time and insights, with sharing everything, which is so knowledgeable. And I'm sure everyone is going to take so many notes out of the
Yeah.
conversation that we've had today. It's been a pleasure and a true honor to have you as our first guest speaker on the series that aims to celebrate the women power, not just today, but forever.
Thank you, Edka. I feel honored that to have this discussion with you, and it's Weatherhead has been tremendous. So it's great to see how we're continuing to make a difference in the community. So look forward to hearing from the other alums and what I can learn as well.
Thank you.